Greetings, family, and this is Dia Nunez and Miss Paula with the H20 Network and KDCL Media for The Wheel Turns After Dark on the H20 Network and KDCL Media. This is a new format because we were having BTR technical difficulties. Literally got on our switchboards this afternoon, this evening, whatever it is. I can't even think properly because we're all frazzle-dazzle, but thank God for technology and backup because we are on Ovu. Thank God for Ovu. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know what is going on, honey, but it's this crazy, and I know people are like, when are you guys going to be back on the air? So I'm like, Miss Paula, let's get on Ovu. If you're looking at this video, no, we don't have video, but you know, at a later date, we will come on and you will see our faces. So you can see our little surroundings as we chat and sit on the back porch. How you doing, Miss Paula?
It's been odd. There are some days when it's like run, and there's other days where I feel like I've run all day, but then I look around and I go, okay, I'm exhausted. What did I do today? And it's very bizarre. The days that I'm physically running, it's fine, and, I'm relaxed and things are just flowing along. And then the days that I'm sitting here and I'm working and it's like, I worked. What did I accomplish? And it feels like I didn't accomplish anything, even though things got changed and moved and contacted, and it's just funny. It's on, one day feeling like you're standing still and the next day feeling like you're all over the place.
Well, it's all this fire energy when, Mercury is in Aries until May 1st. And honey, I'm telling you, 2 rams can't drink from the same water hole because it is literally about viewpoints, explanations, and you're more concerned. People are more concerned with reaching a decision quickly, not percolating and sauteing up in the gumbo. They're like, yo, I want a decision now. So even as we're percolating on these roads, it is, the energy has been real crazy. And as we have seen out in the outer stratosphere, hello, Boston, all of these things. We're going to talk about all these things because all these, cosmic doors that are open right now, craziness is percolating for real. I'm wondering what it's going to be like when it get hot up in here and everybody feeling like they up in the Congo, you know what I'm saying? Like how they going to be. It's going to be interesting to say the least.
Well, and, we've already seen some of, the high temperatures and, like where you live. One day it's, dead summer and the next day it's dead winter. And every place, we waking up in the morning and go outside and there's frost on the green grass and, the trees are trying to bloom and you walk outside and there's frost.
It is truly the Twilight Zone, for real. This week, Paula, I'm like, really? 1 minute, I feel like I'm in December, snow everywhere, and today I'm sweating like a wildebeest. I'm like, okay, and then it's supposed to be in the 70s and 80s this weekend. So, yeah, you right on point about that.
Well, yeah, and you go outside and it feels, in the afternoon, and it's like, oh wow, this is a perfect spring day, and you go to bed and you're pulling the down comforter back up on you, and it's, and Oro is really funny because he's on his expedition down in Tennessee, down in the Great Smoky Mountains, and before he left, I said, now you have everything out of the basement because, like all of his big comforter and everything that he had when he was in the truck was down on the dryer. And I said, you got your tarps, yes, I've got everything. And the first night it was like really cold down there. He said, I don't have my heavy winter bedclothes. He said, I walked off and left them in the basement. So he's made some really good friends down in Coker Creek, and whenever it gets raining or really cold, they let him camp out on their couch. So he's fallen in with some really nice people down there who have really been a big help to his Expedition 13.
That's wonderful. I'm glad that all these things are coming along because it is the time for change. I'm telling you, it's getting real Twilight Zone-ish up in here.
Well, the post that you made this morning on Facebook was, I mean, it was just right, it was dead on. It was, right on target because, all these changes and cleaning things out and on the one hand, things are moving and going forward and, it's slowly but surely, Oro's got the expedition going just like he wants it to. We have our first, advertiser with Twilight Crossroads, who makes spiritual supplies and does readings and has other services. You can look on the marquee and you can look on the marquee at Candelo's Corner and tomorrow on Crone's Cauldron. Cross our fingers that we'll be on Crone's Cauldron tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. back on Blog Talk. And also over on the website, we've put her up over on the marketplace. But check it out. She is our first advertiser, and we're excited.
Absolutely. And things are percolating along. I love it.
But then on the other hand, and that's at twilightcrossroads.com. I forgot that part. But on the other hand, it's, the money comes in for these things and the money's coming for, all the little projects that are going on. But it's like a trickle. And that trickle, it's almost like it's a trickle of gasoline and, somebody puts a spark to it about, it's not coming as fast as it's supposed to, so you're not doing this or you're not doing that. And it's like the argument, it's like that trickle, even though it's a very good thing and it's a happy thing, it's almost like it's gasoline and somebody's standing around with a match.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's also, which we've talked a little bit about, it's that Jupiter and Gemini. Because, Jupiter deals with a lot of things, but it deals with expansion, contraction. It also deals with the luck of money, along with many other aspects, but it's in Gemini. And we know that Gemini, honey, is real fierce. It could be Jekyll and Hyde. Roar. One minute you're talking to the one-legged pirate, the next minute you're talking to the beautiful, fairy, and you're like, okay, woo, which one is it going to be? So depending upon, and we're also in a pressure cooker. We're in a huge pressure cooker. So you're going to get this flip-flopping back and forth depending upon where our feelings are, where our consciousness is at, of this financial shindig. Cause I've gone through the same thing. Cause right now, girl, honey, this lunar eclipse in Scorpio, we got all this Scorpio up in the mix for real. And that lunar eclipses exacerbate, they expand everything in nature. I mean, to the nth degree. So you're also dealing with Taurus. Ooh, you're dealing with that earthly realm of reality, if you will. Taurus also deals with that aspect of the materialistic, which is not a bad thing. It could be a bad thing and a wonderful thing. So you're having this expansion and contraction of all these different things. Emotions are high. You're having all of these explosions, confusion, speculation, percolating at the forefront. So since we have that Jupiter and Gemini percolating along, like in the background, chilling out until 2013, June 25th, by the way, you're going to see both sides of the coin. There's going to be moments of a great, receiving and then giving and a couple of other things. So it's going to get real. I'm telling you, it's going to get real jiggy with it, which I'll wait to see. I'm telling you, we have some planetary events that are just, I don't even know I can't even speak on it because I'm like, what's going to happen next? It's going to get real interesting.
Well, and it is, and it's, I can't wait till June or July actually, because that's when with my particular sign, with Cancer, some of these signs that are, causing a hard time and opposition with it are going to be changing. and it's supposed to get easier for us Cancer people in July after we have this planetary change. And I'm just sitting here trying to think of which one it is, and it's one of those thoughts that it left somewhere with trying to get the show on the air, but I'll come up with it here in a minute. It's like all these good things are happening, but there's like this roadblock or this dam, and when these planets all shift, after June, then it's supposed to be like the floodgates opening.
Well, check this out. That's interesting that you say this, because we know that Taurus deals with beauty. It deals with a lot of things, because, Venus is percolating all up in the mix. And it also deals with I have, and it's sitting right next to the aspect of Aries, fire. So we just got out of all this fire. You still have us percolating in the energy of that, getting into the earthly aspect of reality. So people on planet Earth are like doing things in a hurry, trying to make plans, because they're in the I have mode. And then you have let's not forget that Taurus is determinate, meaning that the opposite sign across from Taurus, I believe, I could be wrong, but this is what I perceive, that sort of kind of bumps heads up against Taurus is Scorpio. Girl, we are up in Scorpio in the mix. Are we not in Saturn and Scorpio right now? So and it also means that Taurus, meaning the I have, can't fully come into manifestation, because, we have that Saturn in Scorpio, we have the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, girl, and also the sun is in Taurus. The sun is in opposition of the moon. Oh, so you have that friction. So you have in your mind, you have this perception of I need to get this done in a hurry. I need to keep it moving. However, Scorpio and the moon is like, wait a minute. We have some things we have to bring up to the surface to be cleansed out and to be dealt with, that have been ignored before we move on to the next phase. So inwardly, you have this, this urgent need to I have. That's what Taurus, to me, the key word is I have. I need to have. But you have this roadblock, because you have Scorpio, wait a minute, hello. You have the stinger, the stinging you in the face. It's like, oops, upside the head. I said, oops, upside the head. Every time you keep moving. So that's what we all feel, if you will. But that's most definitely going to pass. May is going to be something else. I'm telling y'all right now. Just pull up your big girl panties and big boy underwear, and keep it moving, because the astrological events, there are 4 big astrological events that will be happening from April to May. We have the Scorpio lunar eclipse that's on the 25th, which is now. We have the Taurus solar eclipse on May 9th. And then the next Uranus/Pluto square, Lord have mercy, on the 21st. And then you have the Sagittarius lunar eclipse on May 24th. And they're operating, what makes this so profound and deep is that they're operating in a cluster. And it's like this one big, enormous, complicated complication, a combination of launchings, endings, and reshapings, and reset buttons. So it's about to get real jiggy with it. And what's even deeper is that we're gonna go back in time. We're gonna go to the 1960s. During the 1960s, there was a Uranus and Pluto square. And this was a time when, on a societal level, culture, political, society, everything was being reshaped and rehashed. However, this is getting real deep, because we have some alignments that were not in a culmination with the Uranus and Pluto shindig. Now I'm going to go to my little time history. We're going to take a little time trip to the 1960s. What was going down in the 1960s civil rights? Right?
Kennedy's assassination, the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
let's see. Peace, love, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Woodstock.
Yeah.
Or was that the 70s? But the Beatles. Rock and roll was coming to the forefront. The younger generation was throwing off the shackles of the 50s. It was, burn your bra, women's lib. Of course, the Vietnam War being the big thing, but then we had Jane Fonda and Hanoi Jane, and Lyndon Johnson taking over after JFK was assassinated,
and the list goes on.
It was. You had millions of people on the mall protesting the war.
Hello.
And just like we had. Occupy Wall Street. It's all the expansion was much. It was more. I won't say it was more peaceful, but it was more peaceful. I mean, people weren't blowing each other up and sniping each other from who knows where, the trunks of cars, and walking into restaurants and. I mean, the term going postal wasn't even coined until in the late 70s, early 80s. People weren't using guns and bombs. Well, some people were using bombs, the Weather Underground and some of the more radical groups. And you had, your radical groups, but they weren't radical. The violence was not to the extent that we have it today.
Indeed, and I believe that during that time, because like people will say Uranus and Pluto is like revolution and revelation, baby. And during the 1960s, if I'm not correct, it was in conjunction, which means emphasis, inauguration, intensification, concentration, and new activity. And if you look historically at the timeline, that's what went down. However, through to the future, we are now in 2013. You have Uranus and Pluto square, which is very much different in a 90-degree angle. That means challenge. That means action. That means tension, accomplishment, and turning points. See, because there were a lot of things during that timeline that were not really fully reshaped and configured. So, honey, we're going to have revolution and revelation. The Uranus and the Pluto square until 2015, which is going to get real deep because basically, if you go back in time and you look at when it was in conjunction, when Uranus and Pluto were together, whether it's square or conjunction, it really stimulates the essence of dynamic cultural and societal action based upon what was set in motion, previously, before that, because if you look at the 1960s and then you look at the Pluto interaction at an earlier time, the same thing applies. So basically, we're finishing unfinished business is basically what I'm really getting down to saying.
Well, I just, for the fun of it, I typed in my search engine Uranus-Pluto square. And I got this fantastical article from Nick Anthony Fiorenza, who says the exact same thing you just said. It says, because it talks about the geocentric square that begins in June 2012 and continues through March 2015, consisting of 7 triggers, the exact squares occurring due to the planetary retrogrades. And during this time, November 24th of 2013, the synodic square occurs. This square is the actual heliocentric square occurring in the current 138-year Uranus-Pluto synodic, which is synodic cycle that began January 7th, 1966, at the exact peak of the Vietnam War and the emergence of the flower power political movement. This is the first 90-degree square in this cycle.
Che, and to prove exactly what I said and what this guy is saying, you can look at the historical timeline of what happened during that time, and you can look at what's cracking now. And if you really examine it critically, it is a trickleization and continuation of what happened in the past that was not resolved. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why it's so damn explosive is because, you know, Saturn is the judge, honey. That's karma. That's the teacher. Okay, so children, you know, Saturn is like, look here. You didn't learn the first time. We had war. We sent our babies to war. They came back with all these psychological issues. What's going on now? Same thing is happening with Iraq. You have the flower power. People are, you know, all of these things of spirituality are culminating to the front, but it's much more powerful because you have all of these cosmic doors that were open in Pisces and Aries and all of these, you know, squares, things that have not occurred and that didn't even occur during the 1960s. So it's like a huge, amplification of what happened previously. You talk about the drugs. Hello, Colorado. They're doing legislation in, you know, my home state about legalization of marijuana, but it's in a different perception. The perception is a little bit different. So they've taken from one timeline and they've added to it in things of this nature. So this is unfinished business from an earlier time period that got swept under the rug and is now exacerbating, exploding. And as I said at the beginning of the show, lunar eclipse, anything eclipse, whether it's a lunar or sun, shit is hitting the fan. I'm just saying. It's like, oops, upside the head. And then you have Uranus, I'm trying to think of, it was Uranus and Aries. And then there's Uranus and Pluto. But, you know, Uranus and Pluto is all about surprise, chaos, shit hitting the fan. And, of course, we know Saturn is Scorpio. Saturn is a teacher. Scorpio is like all of the things that we've decided to ignore. So all of these decades has been culminating and percolating on top of each other, girl.
Yeah, and, you know, we're just about, according to this man's article, we're just about what he called the heliocenter. We're just about right in the center of it between now and March of 2014. And this article also throws Saturn and is it Chiron into the mix. And it says the dramatics of the mid-1960s were not a product of the Uranus-Pluto conjunction alone. The Uranus-Pluto synod of January of 1966 also occurred very close to the Saturn-Uranus synodic opposition. And the oppositions occurred in November of 65, contributing significantly to the intensity of the dynamics of the transformational time. And at that time, there were 190,000 troops in Vietnam. The flower power political movement was emerging. The Summer of Love in San Francisco, all of that was all going on in 65, 66 when all of these things were having an effect on each other, where this opposition was in effect.
Yes, indeedy. And this is just my perception. From all of those happenings that have percolated from that time period were embedded within the psychological stance of humanity. Buried.
Well, see, and not just that, though. Your flower power people are now your baby boomers. And they're the people who are in the position now, because there's so many of them, there's more baby boomers than there are people of other generations. They're the ones that are influencing our politics, our, buying habits, They're on the one hand, they're of the bigger drain on like Social Security and Medicare because there's more money going out than there is coming in because, the baby boomers and the generations after them had less children than what people were previously having, so less people in the workforce.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And all of the conscious things of that generation and many other things were embedded in the subconscious for a very long time. And I perceive, this is just my perception, while we had all of those planets in Pisces, because, Pisces deals with the subconscious and Neptune and endings, honey. The unknown, the hidden strengths, the weaknesses, all that. Girl, I was like, Lord, have mercy. How many planets are we going to have percolating in Pisces? And I think that was purposefully, cosmically, on purpose, if you will, from the cosmos to pull all of this muck out. Layer by layer. And we're seeing it play out. Now let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, look at what happened in Boston. See, these things, these things just don't culminate, if you will. Now, of course, there is a layer of propaganda and things of this nature. Some interesting things are unfolding. However, it's revealing. After we had Pisces, we had Aries, we had that fire, and we're still tricked. We still have that fire. You know what I'm saying? That's percolating because Mercury is in Aries until May 1st, and technically, I would say May 7th because it's still percolating. So, the I have being lit up by Taurus, I need to have, you've been holding me down. I need to have, people are getting tired. They're getting antsy, if you will, and their communication, if you will, is coming over in a very fiery type of way, and people, are doing crazy things. That's why Oba's like, I'm just gonna be watching from the living room, drinking Cafe Cubano, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to have my gate shut, and this guy summarizes it. He begins with a Uranus summation. It says Uranus stimulates the collective human populace, the masses. It impels the people to initiate action to create radical change in the existing techno-bureaucratic paradigm. It stimulates a revolution based upon the revelations catalyzed by Pluto and Sagittarius. It stimulates radical action to free those who are suppressed or held in bondage, especially the feminine principle and the dominion over and bondage of females. It also stimulates a radical, perhaps rude awakening in the collective in a way that impels people to no longer acquiesce to the financial entrapment and the manipulation of resources by authoritarian bureaucracies. Uranus also impels expression from the higher mind that can stimulate new discoveries and technologies that support the human populace to participate and function in new ways and to create a new world paradigm. And then with Pluto, it says the Uranus-Pluto square impels action to create revolutionary societal change based from the revelations of a deeper truth and a far greater conscious awareness about the human condition and the condition of all life on Earth. Humanity can no longer hide in ignorance and acquiesce to bureaucratic powers with agendas that do not serve the well-being for all humanity and all life on Earth, including Earth. The current stimulus to action upon the awakening that began in the mid-60s, seeded by the flower power movement of love that emerged in response to the runaway tragedy and brutal loss of life that occurred during the Vietnam War. And one of the things that came to mind when I was reading that was not just, we had the Occupy movement. Well, then we have the movement to return to a constitutional way of government, with all the things with the Second Amendment, with the First Amendment, with the freedom of religion, and the Patriot Act and Homeland Security and all that. And just as all those were coming together and culminating, then we have this tragedy in Boston where the government steps in and says, oh, well, we have to step in and keep you safe because, this happened. So we have to take over. You have to listen to us because we can't keep you safe if you don't listen to us. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out because it was like we were getting to the crux of the government was going to have to back down on their position on several things, gun control and all the spending and, just printing money like crazy. And then all of a sudden everything stops because we have bombings at the Boston Marathon.
Which I have to ask myself, this is just, what I'm saying, this is just my own opinion. Because we have the sun in Taurus. I have to ask myself as well, because, when these little things happen, I like to turn on the media for a particular purpose. I'm looking for a particular thing.
Right.
What is this distraction? Because, the way that the media does things, it's a distraction of something else. And I say that because, how interesting is it? When did this little thing parlay? Do you remember the date, Miss Paula?
Oh, let's see here. It was... It is always held on Patriots Day. When is Patriots Day? The third Monday in April is when they hold the Boston Marathon. So that would have been last Monday, the 15th?
Well,
no, the 21st.
Okay. Well, interestingly enough, the sun in Taurus was April 19th through May 20th. And the reason why I'm mentioning that, why this distraction created, if you will, because Taurus can be and is most active when it's defending or resisting things. And you have its determinant, if you will, on the other side of it. You have that Scorpio and Saturn. So I just find that to be really interesting. I'm, trying to peel back the layers. 'Cause, people we're emotional addicted society. They play upon the dramas of these things and they know this. They play upon it. They love it and people love it and they activate people's fear. So I'm like, okay, this is a red herring. What's up underneath it? So on and so forth. And you just mentioned it. All of these laws and things going down. And also, resistance to change, resistance to the way that society is flowing and all of these cosmic doors are pouring down because going back one more time, in the 60s was what you're referring to, but in a different context. I believe that Uranus and Pluto was coupled with or had the emanation of Virgo, which ironically comes from the same house as Taurus, which is substance. However, the key word is duty. Now, we're 2013, where the sun is in Taurus. We have this lunar eclipse in crazy Scorpio. Everything is coming up to the surface. It's in the same house of substance as well, of Virgo. However, the key word is value. And the second house deals with financial affairs, possessions, except real estate, investments, earning power, any gain or loss through your own efforts. It indicates your inner talents, resources, your need for fulfillment, your emotional feelings, your sense of self-worth, your sense of values, liberty. Because, people largely perceive that liberty is largely a matter of money. And it's also a house of personal liberty and material debt. Are we not going through all of these things, Miss Paula? I know I ain't crazy.
Well, okay, the bombs went off on April the 15th. Now, before the April the 15th, the stock market is going through the roof. Everything is going through the roof. Gold, everything. Oil's going down, then gold takes a big dip, but the stock market's still going up. And then we had the bomb went off, and everybody sort of stopped and held their breath. Well, at the same time, and this is a fight that's been going on for a couple of years now. We've had all these bills trying to be shoved through the legislature, through the House of Representatives and the Senate, about censoring the internet. All these different ones, SOPA and all these different ones. And the latest one is CISPA, which is the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act. And while we're all looking at Boston, the House of Representatives passed it on April the 18th. But our only saving grace is that the Senate refused to vote on it. They refused to pass it. But it's already made it through it's halfway there. And the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act is a proposed law that would allow for the sharing of internet traffic information between the U.S. government and technology and manufacturing companies. The stated aim of the bill was to help the government investigate cyber attacks and ensure the security of networks against cyber attacks. And we already have things like Carnivore, where they can pull your information right out of the electronic airways. They can, in the TV shows, you'll hear them talking about, well, what's the chatter? Well, where are they getting the chatter? Well, the chatter they're getting is they have all these wireless networks. They have the computer capabilities to pull out keywords and key phrases and to trace them back to wherever it was they came from, to your ISP, to your cell phone, to anything. And they have all these software programs that do that.
Well, they've been having that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we know plenty of hackers. I'm just saying. They've been having that for a long time. They just slow catching on to getting on the boat. But, they ain't doing a good job because I can't get into my switchboard. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I fell off the box. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. Lord have mercy.
Well, and, they have all this technology that, and I mentioned this the other day. Oro and I were, before he got off the road, and the truck drivers love to sit in restaurants and debate while they're, eating their dinner. They'll sit and something will come on the news and they'll sit and talk about it. And we're finding in this, cross section of people that we're talking to here and there, that the people who were children at the time of 9/11, who were teenagers and, young adults, they have lived in this post 9/11 Patriot Act world to the point where they don't think we need a constitution anymore. The government will take care of us. The Constitution is outdated, antiquated. It doesn't apply anymore.
No.
And that is scary to hear, 25, 30 something say, oh, well, we don't need the Constitution anymore.
I'm going to keep my comments to myself. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. But then again, look at the time that we're in, honey. Revolution and revelation. That's what it really is, I'm telling you. And I dare say innovation. There are going to be many things that one does not care for and like. I just have to laugh. That's very interesting, Miss Paula. No constitution. Okay. That's very interesting.
Well, because they reap the benefits of their everything you ever wanted to know in the palm of your hand on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, and the zombie apocalypse is people running around with their thumbs on their keyboards and never looking up. So they've got us. We're zombified.
Well, I was just about to say, Yeah, society as a whole is, I don't know, I guess there's like this paradox, this contradiction that's going on, and that's not even really the word that I want to use. There are just so many layers of reality that are percolating, that I'm seeing play out right in front of me. You have what you just said, and then you have people who are literally breaking out of the box, if you will, and creating, they're flipping things on their head. They're creating new things, creating new institutions, if you will, by their standards. And creating chaos or creating ecstasy, whichever way the pendulum goes, because we are in Jupiter and Gemini. It could expand or decombust in on itself. And we could either see, the vampire, or like I said, or we can see something else. So I think it's both.
Well, if you look, if you take something huge like, our economy and our government, which are both, that's a huge story in of itself. And when you talked about falling in on itself, well, the middle class is falling in on itself because everybody expects the middle class to pay for everything, and the middle class is just disappearing into the lower class because everybody expects them to pay for everything. So, we're getting to the point where we have two classes. And they're still trying to pull things out of the middle. We're going to take care of the people down here on the bottom because they don't have a lot and they're in dire economic straits. And the people at the top of the food chain, have all the loopholes. Or offshore, they take their money offshore or whatever it is they do to keep all their money, if you're Warren Buffett. And, what's left?
Well, see,
you and me every April 15th sending in our 1040s like, good little soldiers.
Well, I don't know about all that, but, yeah, but see, there's a contradiction there. You know what I'm saying? And this is why this time is very interesting, because we're creating a new value system. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You understand what I'm saying? Either you're going to create a new paradigm or you're going to stay in the same one, and watch the same old, this is what I mean by the resistance. This is what I'm saying, like listening to you and watching what's going on. There's like, okay, well, there's a new, we need to do this, but there's also this resistance because it's habitual. It's not a bad thing. It's just what it is. And it's an observation. We're used to a certain way of life. So you have this.
Well, sure. If you're my dad's age, you went to school, got a job, had your family, and you worked that job until you retired. You might, move up within the company, but you didn't leave the company for, 40, 50 years until, you were 65 and you retired and, you toddled off into the sunset for your golden years. Well, now we don't have those jobs anymore where, people are lucky if they stay at a job for 5 years or 10 years. And that money is not covering everything that, not covering all their expenses. So they're making things and having, businesses out of their garages, or, they're not finding work in their field at all because regardless of what anybody says about there not being age discrimination, yes, there is age discrimination. If you're going to hire, excuse me, are you going to hire somebody who's 50 years old that has 30 years experience in the field? Or are you going to hire somebody who's 30 years old who has 5 years experience in the field, but you don't have to pay him as much because they don't have that extra experience? Or, it's the whole employment thing is just in a total uproar because you have people out there that are doing their own thing and they're, like you said, innovation and inventing and starting their own business. And then you have people that are, by necessity are becoming jacks of all trades and doing this and doing that and throwing in a little bit of, something else over here. We're doing everything from, picking up aluminum cans out of the ditch to, being a handyman, all odd jobs, no job too small.
But see, what you're explaining is exactly what we've been talking about. It is the evidence of Saturn and Scorpio. What is there not to know? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because your parents' generation, my parents' generation, there were a lot of things that were buried under the rug. This is exactly what I'm saying. So all of these things, from sex to the material, went on, percolated. There were a lot of things swept under the rug and ignored. And this is no lie, family. You can historically, critically think and look at the timelines and look at all the things that society did as a mass that we accepted, that we swept under the rug, that we are now culminating and paying for. Everything that you're talking about is not like, blame it on him or her. It's all our faults because we swept it under the rug. It's all coming out. So now society as a whole has to pay for it in every which way. That's what I'm saying.
Well, sure. Well, okay. We'll just pull one out of the hat here. Back in the 60s, late 50s, the United States set up the Shah of Iran on his throne. In the 70s, Ayatollah Khomeini comes along and kicks over the anthill, kicks out the Shah, kicks out the U.S. We don't have access to all that lovely oil anymore, and kidnaps a bunch of people. Well, then Reagan comes into office and, he gets the hostages back, and he's, a big hero forever because of, getting the hostages back, and the Middle East becomes a powder keg. Because, we had our little puppet governments all over the place. And then, the people that didn't like the puppet government said, okay, we're kicking your asses out.
And we still have them, by the way. This is why we have bases all over the world. But yeah.
And now now we're at war in the Middle East because of something that happened in the 60s.
That and also natural resources, let's just keep it real. We're thieves.
Right.
And what Reagan did, we're all paying. See, because I love how people this is the thing. People don't know how to connect the dots. And this is why I love this whole astrology thing, because you can get evidence of all this. As we know, Saturn is karma. It is the judge. It is the teacher. And Scorpio deals with shit that has been percolating. It's like all the dirty tar. Where we stand as a society, even as individuals, because I be analyzing my own crap. We didn't just arrive here. This percolated over decades upon decades, but we like to blame individuals. That, to me, that's retardedness. We didn't just arrive here like in 24 hours. This was a culmination of decades upon decades upon decades of people ignoring and being like, okay, I'm gonna file my nails now. I'm gonna have a cafe con leche. I'm gonna chill. I know I see the fire, the brigade coming behind me, but they're like 100 blocks away. Now the shit is hitting the fan. With every institution on planet Earth, political, material-wise, because what's outside of us is also percolating on the inside. And
sure. So, somebody had to say, oh, well, this is okay, no problem. I have no moral dilemma with this. This is not against any of my ethics. Sure, we'll just go ahead and do this, and it's okay.
Indeed. So this is a culmination of decades upon decades upon decades of sweeping things on the rug and instant gratification. See, it's all of these things are coming home to roost. And they're coming out, some of them are coming out in good ways. You have humanitarians who are doing things and people are creating, but then you have the opposite end of the alchemy, which is very interesting, which can be violence, because we know that Uranus can be in Aries with that fire, honey, can be very volatile. It can be real prickly. Just imagine two rams drinking at a water. I know I always say that, but just have you, family, I don't know if you've ever seen two rams fight in nature. I'm telling you, that is no joke. The sound of the cracking of their, their horns, like coming, I mean, it's like really scary. So, this is what's all coming to the culmination of things. Again, it's really a trip, but all the things that you say or saying didn't just appear. It's all now, all these layers are being peeled back, and it's getting real ugly. It's getting real, it's just not getting pretty. But it can be pretty.
Well, no, we're standing there pointing finger. Okay, China is going to Africa and doing what we did in the Middle East in the 60s. They're bringing their own people in. They're jumping people's gold claims. They're buying up. Yeah, there was an article, it's been a couple of years ago, about these huge cobalt deposits in the Congo, and whichever country it is, I can't think of the country right now, but they were ecstatic because, there was going to be jobs and money, and it was going to be wonderful because the Chinese bought this mine and was going to put it back to work. And cobalt is a highly prized resource. But then what happened was the Chinese brought in all of their own people, all of their own workers, so there was no money for the country. All the money stayed with the Chinese. And they're doing that all over the world. And and that's what we did with the oil in the Middle East. So, they watched us and learned and said, oh, well, we can do that. We have more people than anybody in the world. We have the biggest population in the world. We can do whatever we want. So it's like the chickens are all coming home to roost, and now, we that did it first are standing around pointing our fingers going, oh, naughty, naughty on you.
Yeah, well, actually, we weren't the first ones. It was the English, the Portuguese, and the Belgium. Right. Let's just keep it real. The first time some little tribe invaded another little tribe and took them over. It's been going on since time immemorial. Indeed, it has. And, let's look at, let's just call it spade a spade. Not all of the continent, but there are tyrants on the continent. Let's just keep it real. And people will be like, oh, because I'm just saying, y'all, some of y'all and some people have love affairs with certain continents, and they have delusions of grandeur. You understand what I'm saying? But money is money. So it doesn't matter. So, you have to look at that as well. All this karma is coming up, it's coming up to the forefront, and basically, oh man, what can one say? Destable, and I'm not being negative, family. I'm just taking notes, as old Bob would say, of what's percolating, because there are many beautiful things that are happening within our own lives, me and Miss Paula and people around you. However, we know that the fear aspect of reality can be exacerbated, and you can also find the beautiful things, but destabilizing, demanding pressure is not always a bad thing. I know we've been brainwashed to perceive those words as being bad. However, this is a reboot. And the reboot is fab, but the reboot is about to get real. It's just what it is. It's real interesting. It's really,
it's exhausting.
Girl, honey, I'm telling you, I had to splash some water on my face. I'm like, Lord, have mercy. I've been eating more chocolate in the past couple of weeks than I have in a long time. I'm like, Lord Jesus, let me lock myself in the owl's den, okay, for real. But this is what it is when we have this undercurrent and this pileup of these planets in the sign of Aries. Aries is fire. Aries makes things move. Aries makes things move in a hurry, and sometimes prematurely. Fire can burn you, but can also keep you warm. So we have to really look at the alchemy, the alchemical processes in which we're using. It's also life force. Let's just keep it real. Fire is fire. It's life force, honey. Y'all know what I'm talking about when you rub rubbing bodies up against yours, your husbands or your wives. You feel the friction of fire, honey. You creating fire. That's creative energy. That's life force. But used in the wrong way. I'm saying that because Mama was on fire the other night with the moon blazing over my house. I'm like, Lord Jesus, no wonder why I'm sweating like a wildebeest. And in Scorpio too, sweetie, I'm looking at my chart. My Mars is in Scorpio, and Mars in Scorpio deals with many different things, but it can also deal with, let's just keep it real, Scorpio deals with the dark, sensual, sexual aspect of reality. However, because our minds in the gutter, I'm just calling y'all out, I'm calling myself out, because you know how it is. We always think about voodoo, voodoo nights, sexual voodoo nights. I have an incense called Sexual Voodoo Nights, honey. It's spit word out, and it works too, honey. But that, sexual energy means many things. It means the creative aspect of reality in any aspect of reality, because the essence of sex can be deemed in many different ways, and that one too that you're thinking of. We're having sex on the air. When we talk to you every week, we are doing an energetic exchange. So, the fires are burning, darling, and it is a lunar eclipse. So you have all of these, and you have the opposition of the sun and the moon going up against each other. You have like this fire burning, if you will, and the rams like beating each other down, and this sexual battle, but we can turn it in and create many beautiful things. However, as Miss Paula said, and I don't like to say, because I was once a zombie, I was once asleep, the asleep will encapsulate and exacerbate, if you will, the destabilization, the aggression, the anger, the radicalism, sparks of all kind, and it will be used in a fiery lineup. And again, when you have eclipses, lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, and then you have this Uranus and Pluto square, we are really going to get the oops upside the head. Things that will surprise us. Was Boston not a surprise? People were like, whoa, like you're at a marathon.
Yeah, I mean, I just happened to be, that was one of the days when I think gold was going way down real fast. And I just happened to be sitting here watching, the financial channel at the end of the day. Cause, the stocks were going through the roof and oil's coming down and gold's coming down. And then all of a sudden they break in and say, because they were talking about the running of the Boston Marathon, and then the next thing I know, they're talking about bombs at the Boston Marathon, and it's going, do what? And now this week on, because we get the local Pittsburgh stations here where we are, instead of the ones out of DC, they're talking, because Pittsburgh has a marathon coming up, and they're talking about the extra cost for extra security at the marathon and who's going to pay for that. So, I guess they thought we were starting to get too comfortable with, we haven't had any really big, other than the, here and there, the mass shootings here and mass shootings there, but we haven't had anything on the scale of 9/11 since 9/11. So, the fear factor was starting to come down, except, just here and there in these little hot spots. And, we were starting to get frisky and revolutionary. And all of a sudden now, we've locked down the whole city of Boston and we're all scared to death. And we have men with assault rifles, we have law enforcement with assault rifles going from house to house. And I would have been ashamed to make this report, but they reported that they fired over 200 rounds of ammunition at this poor slob, and he was still alive. Now, how do you fire 200 rounds of ammunition at somebody and they not be cut in half?
Well, sweetie, the perpetuation of fear, hello, these planets, the deconstruction or the exacerbation. So, in America, in a lot of places, but in America, it's down to a damn art. The exacerbation of fear of the people and getting into the seed of their consciousness is like an art in America. They do it very well, and the people fall for it every time.
Oh, yeah.
This is why
spin doctors are wonderful.
Oh, they're wonderful. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant plan. This is why I watch the media when things go down, because I love to see the propaganda, the spin, to enslave the minds of humanity. Now, some people will be offended because they're caught up in the whole propaganda aspect of reality and this whole fear-based thing and enemy. So, it is what it is. Do you? I'm doing me. But this is what it is, and some of us can read through it better than others. But yeah.
Well, then they have these professional journalists, professional being in quotes, journalists who are, when they do the news conference, the little colonel or lieutenant or in the police force or the sheriff or whoever the authority figure is for law enforcement that's giving the news conference. And it's like all these reporters forget everything they ever learned in journalism school about interviewing somebody, and they ask the most asinine and stupid questions, and the person speaking will give an answer, and they will ask the question about the question the guy just answered. And it's like, they always tease about when there's a tornado, they always find the goofiest looking person in the South to ask about having their mobile home blowed off the foundation. Well, to me, that's like whenever somebody gives a news conference at one of these events, the reporters ask the stupidest questions, and I'm going, where did they find these people?
Well, sweetie, let me just give you the 411 on journalism school. It's really not what you perceive it to be. And there is really no such thing. There is no such thing as journalism. It's all entertainment. And this is provable. Media theorists, have studied this. Noam Chomsky, you guys he wrote he's an academic.
Oh yeah.
I love Noam. When I was in college and we talked about Noam, he be breaking things down. So yeah, it's all about entertainment. And due to these planets, I'm glad you said that, Paula, because due to the cosmic doors that are open, the propaganda expansion, you really need to be on point, because this is like a spirit for the people that know. It's like a test for your consciousness. Are you going to use the alchemy and go inward instead of going to the outward? Because there's an outward and inward dynamic that's going on. So which alchemy are you going to choose? Because of the exacerbation, if you will, of many things, one has got to use their alchemy very wisely. And number two, I'm just going to go back because y'all know I always mention this. The reading of the year did say, due to the cognitive consciousness of humanity percolating and its enhancement, because the elders measured the alchemy in the frequency on planet Earth at that time through Odu. It is quite large. So this is why when the Odus fell, they were like, this whole going to events and crowds, regardless of what it is not a good idea. Why? Because you don't know the consciousness, I'm going to repeat myself, consciousness around you. You're you. You can be completely benign and be fun-loving. However, the person 5 doors down from you could be a completely mentally unstable, and you in the middle of shrapnel. This is a perfect example of what the Odu of the year talked about. Perfect example. And in the Odu of the year, it also talks about, things that you would not expect. Like you percolating and doing your thing, but you're in the energy, in the cognitive, conscious energy of others, and the energy of the reset button is so high, you don't know what can go down. This whole Boston thing, I'm just saying, this is just a reminder, y'all. This is a perfect example. So I'm just saying, I'm just saying, for all y'all who be out and about doing their thing and are oblivious, just, be aware. Keep your eyes open. This is not about fear. I'm telling you what was measured through the energy of the year and what it is. So this is a perfect example. Hey, I love it because, they say it at the beginning of the year and you just watch the year play out. Boston, a perfect example. So, watch yourself.
And then but then what's funny is people say, well, I just never expected anything like this. Well, especially people in our tradition who, have read and heard and over, and it's I was just so surprised. I had never believed anything like, what do you mean you never believed anything like, they told you it was going to happen. They told you there was going to be, Chula no Badala. We got, feminine and masculine. Last year was masculine and feminine. And, we've just flip-flopped. And we have this whole little pack of planets all moving together from sign to sign. They're not, separating in any way. They might be a couple days behind the other, but it's like this mass of energy moving from one sign of the zodiac. First it was Pisces and then it was Aries and now it's Taurus and it's going to be like that all year.
Indeed. And, I do have to say, because people are like, oh, well, one does things and uses tools as a crutch. Listen, there are elders who are really good. They ain't letting you know. And they have a perception of like, oh, this is a tool, but they are alchemists, okay? There are elders, not just in our tradition, but I hooked up with all of them. And the same message was coming across the board. They're like, yo, check it out. I'm going underground. I'm going to be doing my thing and posting, but I am not going to be out in the mix like that because I understand the alchemical percolation of consciousness that the outside is permeating and is lingering. See, because one can't say I'm a spiritual being and all of these things and we're all connected, but then you're not paying attention to the alchemical process and scenery in which you are a part of. Yo, I ain't stupid. My mama didn't raise no fool. So, for all those, cause Paula, sometimes when I say things, people are like, oh, you're perpetuating fear. No, I'm giving you the memo. See, there's a difference between sometimes people just don't have common sense growing in their garden. That's what it is.
Knowledge is power. That is one cliche that is absolutely positively true. If you have knowledge of something, then you have the power to change it, protect yourself from it, run in the other direction, and to purposely claim ignorance when all this knowledge is right at your fingertips these days. And a friend of mine and I were talking about this the other day, but we were talking about it in reference to teenage pregnancy and STDs. But it can apply to anything. You have all this knowledge. We have this wondrous thing called the internet that you have to live someplace like where Oro is in Coker Creek, in the middle of the Great Smoky Mountains, to not get a phone signal or a computer signal, but there's still ways to get information and to get knowledge, and to remain in ignorance thinking that if I'm ignorant, it won't happen to me is just ludicrous and stupid.
Well, it's bottom line, it's stupid because the indigenous way, the original Earth people way, is that we are all connected to this energy grid. And if you think one lives in a bubble, because I'm getting this email. They're like, you're perpetuating fear. Y'all know I'm gonna call you out. You know how it would be on the HO network. You know what? I'm doing me. I'm just giving. We're just talking about the memo. We're just talking about this percolation of alchemical reality, energy that's, going on. And everyone, perceives whatever, and that's fine. I'm just saying that if we are all spiritual beings, we are all energetic beings, and we have languages that are percolating outside of us, of course, that one is ignoring, because if you truly understood what I was saying, you wouldn't be ignoring these signatures that are above our head on planet Earth, around us, and interactions with people. One, it's just like, someone is throwing a shoe and you see the shoe coming, but you so stupid, you just standing in the middle of the shoe. You're like, oh, I just got hit in the forehead. Oh, God. Well, I told you, hey, there's a shoe coming. And you stood there. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I'm just reading signatures and giving examples of what's percolating to the energy grid around us, if you will. Yeah, I'm not even going to comment on it anymore. I'm just saying, because I get tired of repeating myself. It's like, don't contradict, yourself. We're all connected. There's signatures percolating all over the place. We just have to have the wherewithal, if you will, to be able to read these signatures so we can get the memo ahead of time. It's just what it is. I'm just saying.
Well, and I think that might be part of, in this expansion, both, culturally and spiritually, in this expansion that's going on, these, labor pains where, we're having these expansions and contractions. I think, people, I talked to a sophomore in high school on the bus the other day when I was subbing as an aide, and because you have to stay in the back with the little boy that's in a wheelchair, and and this young man was sitting in front of me, and he's a sophomore, and he's talking about all these things he can do. He has 3 colleges courting him for his talent as a music producer. He's a welder. He's a mechanic. He's worked in landscaping. And he's a sophomore in high school. And he says, I think I might play football this year just because I want to, because it's something, I've got the build for it. He says, I think I'm going to try out for football next year. And I'm going, holy crap, when I was a sophomore in high school 35 years ago, they were worried about hot pants and pimples, and this kid's got 3 colleges courting him and 3 or 4 different opportunities that both vocationally and, he's going to move in technology or vocation either way. And I'm going, holy crap, and then I see these other kids that can't string a sentence together. And it's like, oh my, this is kind of scary.
Well, I'm glad you said that and you talked about that, because that's it's a paradox. You have and that's not even the word that I don't know why I keep using it, but it's like this contradiction, all of these contradictions that are parlaying up against each other and rubbing up against and tangoing and salsa and all of these things. You see these wonderful beings, expanding consciousness, just flowing, interacting with the alchemy of reality. Then you have these other people and you're like, really? You're producing and bringing offspring onto planet Earth? I'm just staying in plane, y'all. I'm just keeping it real. And you're like, Lord, have mercy. They gonna be the next generation. I feel, you get real scared. You're like, Lord.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying?
And sitting in the seat next to him was this young lady. Beautiful. Oh my God, she's just exquisite. And I would say her heritage was Middle Eastern, but just, the blue-black hair, the eyelashes, it looked like she was wearing false eyelashes, these beautiful gray eyes, and she was just well-proportioned and beautiful. Anybody who was an artist would have been drooling on themselves. And I could see this really old, she was an old soul. I could see all these incredible ancestors on whose shoulders she stood. And when she opened her mouth, she was vapid and shallow, and, all she was worried about was the fact that the window was down and her hair was getting blown. And I just wanted to lay my head down on the back of the seat and go, oh my, what a waste. Because I could see all these beautiful ancestors around her trying to kick her in the ass to kickstart her, and all she was worried about was that her hair was getting messed up.
Wow. I know. I ain't even gonna comment on it, because you know how I feel, honey. Because I'm an ancestor, Egun spirit listening folk. I'll be like, okay, you wake me up at 4:00 in the morning. I got sleep all coming out of my eyes, slobbering on myself. What do you see?
Well,
What's going down?
Well, and I've communed with the ancestors all my life, but on, not on a conscious level. And now that I've been working with it and developing it, and it's more of a conscious level. And yeah, I mean, it was like these pictures you see where, the faces in the clouds standing behind, the person or whatever. And it's like, and they're all just sitting there shrugging their shoulders going, what can you do with today's generation? I'm going, yeah, I know. Oh, my goodness.
Lord have mercy. A lot of us do that unconsciously. There are some people I'm not going to name, but when he plays the flute, I actually see a little Chinese man. And every time I see him do his little artistry, it cracks me up because I see that Egun. When I have a lot of male friends, a lot of male creative people. Their Eguns are like right there, and they're like, hello, we know you see us. Hey, girl. And I just laugh, and I'm like,
come play.
Yeah, they're like, and I say to myself, honey, they are working that alchemy. So, I think that a lot of people, I'm glad that we're speaking about this, because we're talking about the positive alchemy, the expansion, if you will, of things, the fire that is going on, by working through that. See, because I'm just saying, it's just an observation. We talk about the ancestors, but we don't tap into that alchemy. We don't create, because let's just keep it real. If we are all spiritual beings, quote unquote, which we are, and energy does not cease to exist, the ancestors are still here, and they knocking on the door. They may not be in the flesh, but they're like, hello, girl, hello, girlfriend. Take this number down. Write down this piece, this paragraph. You know what I'm saying? And people are can be so analytical in nature, and they're like, oh, is this negative? Your spirit knows. If you have worked on yourself and spiritually, your spirit knows what's yours and what is not. Tell me I ain't lying, Miss Paula.
Oh, you're not. And I think that, and I've said this before, and I'll keep right on saying it, and maybe somebody will get it. I think that's why things seem so drastic. I was reading up on cancer for to 2013, and they're talking about in this part of, what we were talking earlier about the first 6 months of the year are going to be an expansion spiritually for cancer. And then the second 6 months is going to be, mundane or cultural or whatever, however you want to put that. But it's going to be, you're going to have this huge spiritual expansion, and then it's going to move on into the other parts of your life in the second half of the year. And with this, and just myself and, being where I'm at in this little rural community, I don't, there's pressures of course, we were going through all this with, Oro not driving truck, and, our financial situation being spotty here and there. And so, we have our own set of pressures, but we're not compounding it with the expansion of, my spiritual life with, my mediumship coming on to line online, and, all these other things that are going on, like you said, with the Egun whispering in your ear at 4:00 in the morning, kicking you out of bed. And, it's usually right about 4:30.
Basically.
Yeah. And I wake up and I'm going, what do you want now? But there's a lot of pressures, because we don't have children. I don't have all that extra pressure that, somebody else might have that would make them snap and do something, wild and crazy, because they have this added pressure of this spiritual expansion going on at the same time. They have all these economic, financial, children, spouse, job, all these other, you throw a suddenly expanding consciousness into the mix of everything that's going on in our everyday lives. And it's no wonder that people snap and do crazy things.
Well, people, like I told you about going back to the timeline and the conscious mind and people dealing in things and unfinished business, a lot has been held collectively, individually, community-wise, family-wise, within the conscious mind, and it's now boiling up to the surface. It can no longer wait. Aries is that fire. It's like now. You have Taurus, who is like, I have. It's like the now. It's earthly goods. It's like your worth, your value. And what is all around it is very much powerful in nature. So things that have been ignored, and then again, Saturn and Scorpio, things that have been ignored, swept under the rug. It's all coming up. But for a good thing. As I said in my post, you can't have a fierce new wardrobe if you have things that just no longer apply to you. And you know that they're not working, but you still are holding on to them. It's like a time to let go.
Yeah. You're a size 16 now. That 12's got to go.
Yeah.
Well, and something else that you have mentioned in the past is more and more of these our mental wounds, our spiritual wounds, where through abuse or financial difficulty, people living in their cars or being homeless, the wounds that come from that, all of that coming forward, the whole, with our clergy people abusing our children and teachers and, aunts and uncles, and all these abuse issues coming up, all these mental health issues coming up with that expansion, that's exacerbating that too.
It's doing that, and it's also shining a light on what we have ignored. There's a stigma in society that if you have a mental anything or you're not mentally well, that you're not sick. That's not a legitimate sickness. That's bullshit. So, all of these things, this is, whenever tragedy, if you will, and I'm just saying, whenever tragedy or something happens in society, it's shining a light on it. What is the real meaning? Why do people really do what they do? What have we ignored that has propelled someone to have a mental sickness or things of this nature to do certain things? Not just within society, but mental sickness within ourselves, because the cosm is always the microcosm is always the cosm as well. It's connected. So one has to look in, okay, well, what is my thorn? What is the thorn in my side that Saturn is going to teach me about, that Scorpio, is bringing up to the surface? If it's ritualization of your mental cognitive abilities, it's going to all come up to the surface this year and beyond. And depending upon how you deal with it is how, it's going to either get better or worse. Now, what I mean by that is, and my grandmother did this, so I know it well, and she passed it on to me, and I'm telling you, every day, it's not like you ever get rid of it. It's a continual thing. Anyone who ever makes you think that they've conquered this, they're liars. They have not. They're humans. You're perpetually on a road of learning until the day you die. So no one, I've conquered. No, please. Really, get over yourself. To stop believing your rhetoric. I ritualize sometimes worry. We all do that. Some more than others. We worry about this. Now, it could be a particular institution of worry. It could be money. It could be sex. It could be our partner. It could be our worth. Anything of your thorn, honey, that you ain't dealing with, or you trying to front like it's all gone? Because nothing is perpetually ever all gone completely. We always will have something that will test us to see how much we've grown. because we're human beings. If we were so perfect, we would not be here on Devil's Island. I'm just saying. On the Devil's, the King Devil's Island. Let's just keep it real.
Yeah, we done be ascended.
Exactly. We wouldn't even set foot on planet Earth. We would be watching from the ether, say, hey, how you doing? I'm sending you some information. Okay, sweetie, let's not get it twisted. We're anybody in the flesh. I don't care if it's the Dalai Lama, Pope, or whatever. We are all here for a reason, regardless of title, because we have certain things to learn. So, not only is it exacerbating and making people lash out, it's also, if we're keen enough to really look at it, what are we not doing as a mass collective that are making young, old people, ourselves crazy? What are we ignoring? How are we not caring for people? So we have to begin to look at these deep layers. Scorpio is deep. It is not surface layer. And I'm saying that because I'm thinking about some folks that I know who are full-fledged Scorpio, honey. And no, you are not your sign. But you know what, sweetie? If y'all wasn't carrying the characteristics of deepness, well, then whatever. I know some Scorpios that have taken me there on a deep level. I'm like, Lord, you're going to make my brain explode. They look at reality from a very detail-oriented, deep level. It is the stinger. If you look at the scorpion, you look at the spine, the tail, what does that look like? It's your chakra. It looks like segments of your chakras going up your spine. Hello? See, the animal of the zodiac can tell us a lot about the spiritual, metaphysical, alchemical principles of self. The stinger of the scorpion looks like sections of your your spine, kundalini, your chakras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Scorpios, I'm telling you, I'll tell you who's a Scorpio, and you're gonna laugh because you already knew. Lennon Honor's a Scorpio.
Yeah.
Okay. Lennon.
That fits. That fits.
Does it not? And there are many other archetypes, if you will, that go deep. But Scorpio, for some, it's like that stinger, and some of them will make your brain explode. Cause you be like, Lord Jesus, Lord, do you ever? They're very serious.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's like I can't watch. I no longer watch TV with the same. I have to turn my brain off if I want to enjoy eye candy on TV. And then I can turn my brain back on after the show.
See, yeah.
Because Lennon Honor just ruined me. He broke me.
Oh, totally. He'd be like, he will deprogram you. He will be, I'm telling you, you will listen. I have listened to Lennon, some of his shows, and I've listened to some of them like 10 times, and every time I hear something, I've decoded something different, because he will take you there. You like, Lord Jesus, Lord have mercy.
I have been a Trekkie since the first Star Trek was broadcast. And the man broke me.
He broke you down. Did he? Did he not break you down with that Star Trek thing, girl? I'm telling y'all.
Yes. It's like, oh, now I can't even enjoy this anymore.
But what he's saying is on point, because in media studies they're talking about that, except, he broke that shit. I was like, Lord have mercy, I'm never gonna look at Star Trek again. My mom and them were like, oh, I can't watch this because it's gonna ruin my mind. But she loves Lennon Honor, and there are many others. I'm just giving y'all an example, but this, and you see the stinger. If you've ever seen a scorpion family in real life, like, you'll walk up to a scorpion and it will be real still. So still that it doesn't even look real, and you will think that it won't sting you, and then all of a sudden the swiftness, the fastness of the scorpion will sting your ass so quick you won't even know what hit you, and you're like, Lord have mercy, where did that come from? So it's the same thing with this energy of this lunar eclipse with this Saturn and Scorpio. Then you have Uranus, chaos, oops, upside the head. So all of these things that one has chosen to ignore, whatever your thorn in the side is, you can front like you want to ignore it, or like you're just like goody two shoes or whatever, la-di-da, like nothing is affecting me. But sweetie, I'm telling you, at some point in time, you will be confronted. You will be confronted by the stinger. With the stinger right in your face, dangling right, about to like slap you right in the face. I mean, for real. It's just like inevitable. And it's not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing because it means growth. It means regeneration. Here on this earthly plane, if you will, in the organic, in the flesh. This is also what I perceive the sun in Taurus, Venus in Taurus until May 9th. Because Taurus is very earthly in nature, meaning the earth mundane plane in nature, your value. What the hell do you want? Your security. And the fire up under that. Like, what do you really want? Yo, all of you, from the positive aspect of reality, all of you creators, people who are doing things, writers, all of you, I'm talking to all of y'all. If y'all ain't doing it and you're doing it in your minds and you're not sharing, you're going to come to a point where the urge is going to be so strong that you won't have no choice to do it. The universe is going to put you in a position where you're going to learn a very valuable lesson about the valued gifts that you have. Because you know what, Miss Paula? I have gifts. And sometimes I always ask the universe, what are my gifts? Why am I here? Duh. I'm not paying attention. Y'all better
One of the things I'm finding, those of us, or I'll just speak for myself, I find my writing changing. I see a lot of things that are being written now, or if I look at the the subcontext of what's being written, some of these people are in a very scary place. People, I don't know, I guess, well, yeah, I'm guessing here, but going by what I'm reading, I use my fiction writing as like an emotional outflow. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not a huge drama queen. I don't go. I'm not like a soap opera star going through the motions and So, but I'll put it into my writing. My characters will be angsty and live inside of their heads and the bad things and that's my emotional outlet. I've put my emotions down on paper, but more and more I'm seeing people putting their characters into positions where they have no control. They're slaves, or they're they're so emotionally broke down that they're not in control. They have given the control to somebody else so they don't have to be responsible. And I'm seeing more and more of that and more of people getting into the extreme kink, the extreme bizarre, the BDSM scenes. It's the way the psychology of the writing, the fiction writing has changed over, I'd say, the last 3 years is sometimes it's pretty scary. Maybe it's a good thing that they're putting it on paper, but just watching and reading how people don't want to be responsible. They want somebody else to take care of them. Even if it means pain or giving up their freedom, or
But why do you think? See, this is what I'm not understanding. Why do you think that? I understand exactly what you're saying. However,
I guess because it's outside of my purview, I don't have that mindset. Maybe is why it seems odd to me, or maybe a little bit scary, because I like to be in control. I'm not obsessively in control, but I like to be, my hand on the wheel, so to speak.
Yeah, you do. You just blew your own spot up. Yeah, you are. That's not a bad thing, though.
I guess the idea of giving giving myself over to somebody like that, giving up that much control is scary to me.
But see, this is what I'm not understanding. Why do you believe that revoking control and flowing with the universe is not taking responsibility? To me, that's a contradiction. It doesn't make any sense. To me, when you are a control freak, I'm not saying you per se, because I have that element about me as well. That we actually get in our own way of success, and that's how we create blocks, because we just see there's a difference between just sitting down and not planting seeds. Then you're like you're revoking your. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a difference.
Okay, yeah, I do. I see what you're saying. And yes, surrender is is the word tattooed on my forehead for this year is surrender.
Okay, so yeah, let's get it straight, because that's not revoking, holding on tight. There's an old saying, and you know it. If you let something go and it comes back to you, it was meant to happen. It was meant to be yours. Right. Sometimes we can hold on to things so tight that we actually create our own blocks. And I'm speaking to my own spirit as well. And that if we relinquish control, see, because this is another westernized, propaganda seed that's been planted in everyone, even spiritual people. And I know some very well-known spiritual people who think exactly like that. Oh, you have to take responsibility. Like they have, if they take a side seat and actually flow with the energy that they're talking about, that's being irresponsible. Well, you're contradicting yourself. I'm not saying you, I'm saying these people. And I'm like,
right.
But they don't realize it because they've been so embedded with the aspect of being control freaks, which is a westernized ideology from my perspective anyway. That's what this whole society is based upon, being control freaks. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And yeah, and that's what I said, from my point of view, from my point of reference, and I realize that some of these situations, the slave master, the dominant submissive, I realize that both have their own type of control. And I understand that in a truly, dominant submissive relationship, that a lot of times the submissive is the one that's in control, if it's done properly. But from my point of reference, it's a scary place for me, because to not have control over your body, to not have, you still have control of your thoughts and your mind, but for somebody else to control what happens to your body, to me is one of those hard places to go.
And also I think that you're attaching ideology and belief with that, because this is just my perspective. Whenever I read, authors who talk about subjects that make me uncomfortable, there's something underneath that. You understand what I'm saying? There's something.
Yeah, because I'll read it anyway, especially if it's somebody whose writing I enjoy. If they write something about a subject that makes me uncomfortable, I read it anyway, simply because it makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
Because I want to understand it. I want to, it might not be my cup of tea, but I would hate to pass up an excellent piece of writing because something squicks me out.
And also I think good writers, Paula, and this is just me, for the more intuitive, deep thinker, it's more than what is the flesh. And I'm also speaking from like a Philip K. Dick, which is a different genre. However, he talks about things that make people very uncomfortable. And when I read anything, it's not always easy, but I try to, ideology and belief will get you in trouble when I read. Because then, because as artists, Well, I should say as regular citizens, and I don't mean to offend family, but regular citizens, we have all these, attachments, beliefs, socializations, way to be, and we take that in everything that we do. So when I go and I look at art or I read art, I try to let all of that go, because artists are deep people. So what they're presenting ain't got shit to do really with sex. I mean, that's what they're presenting, because you always got to entertain you have to entertain the ones that are asleep, I guess. And I really hate saying that, but you know what it is. But people who are writing in that context on a real artist level, there's something deeper underneath that. They're showing you a bigger picture, that needs to be decoded. And plus, in America, we have a hard time with sex. We're sexually deprived, locked up individuals. It's just what it is. Even though on the underground, we freaks, you know what I'm saying? You know what?
Yeah. Well, and I do, and I realize that, I am a product of my upbringing, for all my dabbles in everything. And, I try to suspend that as much as possible, because I want to continue to expand myself. I don't want to become narrow in a box, the judgmental person. And I know that I still have some of those judgments, like right now, that I want to overcome them. I want to be able to accept that there are people that they enjoy this. This is what brings them peace. This is what, makes them whole. And I don't want to not understand that. So that's why, if it makes me uncomfortable, I still read it. I still try to understand it. I still try to really get it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, because I want to continue to expand and not, let my rural farm, upbringing keep me away from something that's enjoyable.
Well, check this out, and I'm really I may not blow your mind, but I may blow people's mind. That is equivalent to, that could be put on the same level as what they used to do in the ancient medieval world when they used to flag themselves. Let's just keep it real, because I've actually read, this is what I'm saying about thinking on a deeper level and taking like the act out of it, and like, what are they really trying to perpetrate?
Well, they were the people who flogged themselves, and the priests that wrapped the chains around their thighs or their rosaries around their thighs, and it was to change their awareness to like we use psychotropic drugs like LSD and things like that. Well, they didn't use drugs; they used pain to alter their consciousness.
Hello. Exactly. But do you see like how we're talking it out, how society, like, excuse my language, fucks our heads up, and it gives us this perception about one of the most powerful essences on earth. I'm just saying sex. I'm not saying what you're, the subject matter and what you're talking about. But they twist our minds. I mean, because there are many different levels, because let's not get it twisted up. The propaganda of the mainstream world has used sex as a weapon to have people be promiscuous and all of these things and use that sexual energy in the wrong way. However, underneath that, there is a very powerful creative energy on an alchemical level with sex, with pain, with many, many things that people are like, oh, what is she talking about? Sweetie, there are people who have written about this shit. I'm not the first one saying it, because I know people get real, they get uncomfortable, because, I just put it out there. I'm not going to like butter it up.
Well, I'm going to jump on the boat. I'm going to jump in the deep end of the pool.
Lord have mercy.
The crown of thorns. 40 lashes.
Yes.
You think Christ was not in an ecstatic mental state because of an overload of endorphins?
Hello.
That a lot of times, that was what I was trying to think of. My brain has been trying to think this up. I realize a lot of these situations and scenes are all about reaching the ecstatic state, what they call subspace, or the high of the endorphins that is brought on by excess pain.
Indeed. And they've had articles, and this is switching to the giving birth gear. There are women out there, there are actual articles talking about ecstasy. What is it called? Orgasmic birth. There is such a thing, family. And if you think I'm bullshitting, Google it. So pain, there is something to these sensations, if you will, that we have on planet Earth. But this conversation is so Saturn and Scorpio. It's so Saturn and Scorpio, girl. But you know who I am. I'm on the,
and no, we do not script these calls or these shows.
No, sweetie. But all of these things in these conversations are things that are the cosmic doors, things that make people feel uncomfortable, because that is the cosmic door that will be open, and it's on all different levels. Like I said, whatever your thorn is, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 5, or 10, it's all coming up to the surface. All of it's coming up to the surface. Sex, education, political, money, the way, not just from outside but inside, the way you think about it, the way you deal with it, your relationship with it, it's all getting a reset button. So, no, Miss Paula, you know me, I don't shy away from anything. I'm like, whatever, like, what were we talking about? You know how me and Oba do, you blow up the spot in a minute, and we'll have, really deep, intriguing conversations, and we'll always tie it back to the metaphysical and the lesson. What is the deeper lesson here? Because let's not forget, we will, and I'm not just saying Luke or me, but the earth people, from the spiritual, they believe that we have manifested here from the spiritual to the organic, not the other way around. So this is why I say, like, all of these little ideologies and beliefs and attachments of what we perceive that have been handed to us can get in the way of us seeing, okay, well, like, what is really here? What are you really trying to tell me or teach me, if you will? What's the real message? And this is what this whole time is about. So this is, working on, Miss Paula. Do your thing. I'm waiting for the new writings to come out.
Well, actually, yeah, there's supposed to be one coming out about any time, the 2013 ginseng, but there's some other stuff floating around. I'm finding that I'm starting to build some of my own characters and moving, away from the fan fiction genre and starting to move into the original fiction genre. So it'll be interesting to see how the year plays out.
Well, keep talking about your dream, because again, this is also about all of these cosmic doors that are being opened, that were opened before with Pisces, that have gone into Aries, to action, to being aggressive, but in a positive alchemy. Now the sun in Taurus, this lunar eclipse. Remember, family, the moon is the womb. The eclipse amplifies everything, all of our hidden desires. Scorpio is also about desires. So I love it when Miss Paula talks about her genre and the things that she sees in moving forward, the fire, because this is what it's all about. This is the positive alchemy of it. We have gotten the memos, if you will, of the craziness. However, underneath the breath and between the paradigm of what is happening, there's like this silence of creativity that is happening within our being, within ourselves and our own environments, on top of this crazy chaos that's beautiful, that's actually creation and birth. So I perceive the more that we speak about these things, I know people are like, well, that's not related, but it is, because we are speaking into creation what we want to manifest from the deep dark depths of Scorpio, the Olokun aspects of ourselves, to manifest into the physical aspect of reality. What I want, what I need, what I have. And Taurus also deals with creativity, the beauty, the musical, the essence of life, because Venus is there as well. So it's good to talk about all of these wonderful things. And, Ms. Paul, I think that we're going to get off the line right now, because, you know how we be testing our oval, and I don't want our call to hang up. But this has been a glorious and wonderful time. And we have to do this again, but with us actually on video, so people can actually see us in all of our glory, because we keep promising that to people. I know they're like, well, whatever, we ain't ever going to see them, but Miss Paula be doing video, so we have to do like a little video chat. This was fun. a little round table of the percolation and the happenings of the cosmic doors and the alchemy that's happening on planet Earth. And I just have to say, family, keep percolating as you see the storm of uncertainty and assertiveness and action and fire around you, make sure that you turn and flip the alchemy in on yourself. And you become the creator that you are, no matter what it is. You could be an artist, writer, speaker, poet, whatever it is that you do, make it happen. Stand and live in your truth. And regardless of what you see with your physical eyes, ignore that. Ignore it, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know how the universe and spirit moves to rise to the occasion to make things happen. Because shit could be chaotic out here. It could look crazy to you. The spirit could be moving and grooving on your behalf, and you messing it up. So just keep it moving, keep it grooving, and do your thing. What's happening at KDCL Media, Miss Lady?
We're just about back on a regular schedule. We're going to be back here tomorrow morning, hopefully on Blog Talk for Crone's Corner at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and probably Saturday I'll upload this so that we can, play it on Blog Talk if they have their stuff all in one shoe by then. Then on Sunday, Egun and then some, and our regular lineup goes right back on Monday.
And I don't even know what's going on at H20. Y'all know how I do, y'all. I'm just saying, I'm trying to percolate. For real.
You're rolling with the flow.
Sweetie, let me tell you, like you said, that's your motto. This has truly been my one. Well, honey, it's been so many mottos. That is one of them. Yeah, it is. It is truly one of my mottos. I'm just like, whatever. That just gives y'all license to interact more, to make a connection, if you will. If I don't tell you what's going on, you have to tune in to find out. But y'all know something's always going down on the H Show Network, most definitely. And of course, we'll be here tomorrow. And also, family, make sure that you look up in my queue and Miss Paula's queue, because we have someone that we want you to meet, and we'll put that on my Facebook profile for you all. And make sure that you connect with us on Facebook, DIANUNEZ, 2 profiles, Miss Paula, KDCL Media, the H Show Network, and come hang out. I really have nothing else to say, but this has been a really intriguing, energetic exchange, if you will, as Lolly would say. And, keep percolating. And forewarning, I didn't put this on Facebook, but because I'm just going to say one last thing. Because we in this lunar eclipse and the moon is percolating and gyrating, and it's in Scorpio, honey, those sexual energies are high. I mean, like fire. Make love, y'all. Make love, not war, for real. I'm telling you.
That's right. That's right.
That's right, baby. Create. Make love, kiss, make love, and whatever. And create. Also turn that in and, bring things out. So the sexual energy is high. Use it to your advantage. And I think that's it, Miss Paula. I love you, girl.
Love you too. Talk to you in the morning.
Yes, indeedy. Bye, family.